And you're not saying that the McCombs School of Business doesn't need more money.
No, you can always do more things with more money.
Yeah.
And I think the most significant thing about my gift was not the size of the gift, which got a lot of play. What didn't get any play was I gave my gift with no strings attached. You never get gifts without strings attached. It never happens. I think bureaucracy it's alive and well everywhere. We have too much of it in business. We have far too much of it in education. I wanted to give a gift to where the dean didn't have to go through the bureaucracy of what he did with the money. And that was why I gave it. Was if I were to give you this much money, what could you do for it? If I were to give you this much money, what could I expect from it? What if I were to do this? What would I get back? And it causes some serious thinking. And say, I don't have to get this approved by anybody. X number of committees to go through and have it all saucered and blowed, so to speak. We can take this and do it. And that way 2 and 2 makes 8 instead of 4. And I think really that was the significance of my gift. And I think my gift was, again, the other significant thing was that I put my faith in this school and in this university. And they didn't fail me. I'm delighted with where we are 10 years from the time that we made the gift. We've done everything that we thought we could do and more. And but there's still more to do out there, and that won't be. That's not like that's a burden. That's a challenge, and that's what we're going to do for the students.
Well, which leads me to my last question, which is, at the time you made your gift, there was a budget surplus at the federal level. Business was booming. Things looked great.
Right.
Right. I mean, there were some, problems overseas, the Balkans and things like that were problematic and beginning to come on. But basically, especially compared to today,
right,
we were great.
Right.
Right. And here we are 10 years later with a really difficult economic situation.
Right.
And my question is, isn't this the time for people like you to be digging deeply into their pockets, as opposed to a time when we're flush?
Well, I think all time is a time. I don't think there's any time when we shouldn't be trying to improve. Originally, land-grant universities were set up by our forefathers to be funded by the state and by the legislature. We found out in the early 60s that model was not enough. We found out that we had to get private gifts to be a part of the mix for the public schools. And frankly, up until that time, I really hadn't thought about much that would ever be necessary, because I'm a product of the private school and of the public school, both. But when Governor Connolly came back to Texas from Washington in 1962 and called a bunch of us together here in Austin, and he said, I'm going to come from Washington to Texas, and I'm going to run for governor, and I only have 4% name identification. And the reason I'm going to do this is that if we don't improve public higher education, in 30 years from now, we're going to look like Mississippi. Governor, forgive me if you didn't want me to quote that, but that's what you said. And I was kind of amazed at the time, because here I was busy trying to get my career going and raise my family and such. And I frankly believed that the University of Texas had everything that the world ever had to offer was here. I didn't know the difference. But he did. He had been in Washington. Yeah. And he had seen these grants fly out of Washington to the East Coast and the West Coast to, quote, the power universities. And it turned into private business. It turned into a lot of jobs. It made a big difference. And he was right. So then I think a lot of people began to look at it a little differently. The legislature is not going to provide the kind of funds for a university of the first class. So we're going to have what we get from the legislature. We're going to have what we get from the private sector. And I think the people of Texas have understood that. And I think they have supported that. And I feel real good about where we are in public higher education. But I think the governor was right. Had he not made his move when he did in 1962, here some 40 years later, I don't think we'd be where we are today.
Yeah, but where we are today includes, I don't know if you saw an article in the American Statesman today, if you were here this morning and saw it, but the University of Texas right now is having great difficulty getting people excited about giving money. And they're, as you know, in the midst of budget cutbacks and layoffs. And
well, we got to tell our story better. Number one, we got to get more people involved in telling it. But then I will remind everyone that in 1924, the students themselves had been pushing the university for a student union and for a stadium and for a gymnasium. And they were getting nowhere. And in 1924, which was not the greatest of all economic times, the students at the University of Texas bound together and started raising money statewide. And they put the money into what became the Darrow Memorial Stadium. And the same base of that stadium is the same today as when it was inaugurated in 1924. Well, the students at that time were ahead of the people running the university and seeing what this university needed. And they did the same for the Student Union building. They did the same for Gregory Gymnasium. So I don't think the students of this great university are going to allow anything except for the university to get better and do a better job for its students. Now, are there some economic challenges now? Yes. And there'll be some that won't answer to those challenges. I think the University of Texas will answer to those challenges. And I don't see anything really wrong with looking at saying we're going to have budget cuts. You know, what family doesn't have budget cuts? Can we do things more efficiently? Yeah, maybe we lost our way a little bit. Maybe it'll be a wake-up call. But I have no doubt that at the end of the day, that the quality of student coming out of the University of Texas be the very highest level.
are you actively involved in fundraising yourself at this point?
Always.
You are.
Yeah, I don't think fundraising is ever over. I think it's a continual thing, and I learned that a long time ago, and I'm not uncomfortable asking people. When I made my big gift, I kind of talked myself into it, because the dean was saying we need to do some things, blah, 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 and I said, I think I can get that on the phone. So I picked up and I called 5 different guys in this state. Every one of them could have done what I asked. I said, would you give $10 million to business school to let us do this and this and this? No, I'm not going to do that. Hey, Red, I might give you $1 million. When I finished making those calls, I said, I'm disappointed, because every one of those guys could have done it. I said, you know what? I think I'll do it myself. Now, when I went home and told my wife and my children, I was giving away their money, of course, they said, think about that a little bit before you do any more.
So you're not back up here to give another $50 million?
No, I'm not.